Power sometimes has a dirty connotation, but as far as taking on the responsibility, stepping into the ability to serve others in your fullest capacity is something that unless you take ownership of it, unless you claim it, it's really hard to do.
Every leader needs a trusted partner for the moments that matter. This Bold Business Podcast conversation is that partnership. Here is your host, Jess Dewell, an insightful truth teller who serves as the catalyst for getting the right work done and who asks the questions that truly matter.
What does it take to break the mold without breaking your business? That is a question that when we start to feel trapped by the way things always have been in our industry or by our predecessors or by who's mentoring us, we must ask ourselves more than ever before. And today, Heather shares about that. Heather Gibson is the founder and CEO of Big Hearted Breeders. She has built an ethical breeding program. She is leading a nationwide educational movement. She is the powerhouse in pet nutrition and wellness, not to mention a business mentor for other breeders. Heather challenges conventional industry norms, and she's empowering breeders to step up, to be open and claim the skill it takes to be a breeder and to be profitable at it. We're going to dig deep into running a business aligned with its biggest good goal and its everyday actions. There are three powerful insights. The first is how to remember your purpose even when self-doubt shows up, because taking that next step is a must. Second, there are three crucial questions that you can ask yourself to help identify what no longer serves your work and how to confidently let it go. And third, finding commonality, working with peers, coaches, and going to industry events shortens the path of where you're going so you can get there faster. Protecting our bandwidth, stepping into your visionary role, understanding how to adapt in ever-changing markets and claim what you still need to claim to get to where you want to go is what you're going to hear. Let's get to my conversation with Heather. I was thinking about self-acceptance, and you were also talking to me a little bit about self-acceptance. Was there ever a time as you've been in your career as a breeder and part of the breeding community that you didn't accept yourself in this role?
I think we all do. No matter what business we work in, we all have areas where we hold back or we diminish what we would normally do because of how we view ourselves or how we allow ourselves to be impacted by how others view us. So, the breeding world is a very controversial business. Even saying it's a business is very controversial in my world. And so, there are a lot of armchair quarterbacks, different people putting in their opinions. A lot of times, people that don't even know our industry or understand it are very critical of what we do. I think that can create a little bit of shame or regressing into what we think we should be doing to please the invisible committee. I love the term invisible committee. I recently heard it on a training by Aniston Bricksteins, who you guys should look up. But what we do to please the invisible committee can impact how we view ourselves, how we treat ourselves, and how we go about our business.
So many times I've been in a room and I thought I was ready to be there, and I look around and I feel like I'm an adult dressed up in my mom's clothes. There was even some confidence back then dressing up in whatever I could find in the closet, whether it was my grandma, my mom, my dad, right? It didn't matter. But when you find yourself in that flip side of, oh, am I really supposed to be here? That concept, I've heard it called imposter syndrome. I like the way you're describing it better because we can be really confident and then all of a sudden go, wait, what are we doing here?
It can be very disorienting if we're not grounded in our purpose and who we are because different opinions land heavy and sometimes they're surprising. You walk into a room and you're not expecting to hear certain criticism, and all of a sudden you feel small and you start to doubt yourself.
Did you start out confident, or were there specific times from when you started to today that you look back on and go, yeah, those were the times my invisible committee was really loud, or that I had self doubt and I lost my self acceptance?
I feel like I've always been a people pleaser. And as a people pleaser, the invisible committee is very debilitating. And so I think I have gained in confidence over time, but I definitely was not born innately a confident or outgoing person. I think some people that have known me would say, "Oh, Heather, actually in high school, I think you were pretty confident and outgoing in some ways." But I just remember always having so much self-doubt and so much self-criticism growing up. Yeah.
I still do. I don't know. Here's the thing though, the frame I put around it, and maybe this is wrong, Heather. What I realized was my self-doubt turns out not to be because of my belief in myself. It comes up because the perception, sometimes it's within, but sometimes it's without, is that there was some sort of mistake or failure. And it took me a long time to be able to hold that or walk with it and keep going. Because you just said it shows up unexpectedly. Yes, it does. And we still take those steps forward. We still show up with the, if you want to call it game face, great. If you want to call it confidence, great. I show up with whatever I have. If it's 10%, I'm going to look 10%, but I'm going to give you all I got. That's how I walk with that. It's usually when that happens. I've been under pressure too long. I haven't taken a break in too long. The pace was supposed to be weeks and it's turned into months. It's usually a sign for me that there's something else happening. Could there be change and am I growth oriented? Sure, but that doesn't mean I'm immune to that. How about you?
I know that in my journey with growth mindset, we talk about a lot about early wounds, like what happened in childhood, the thoughts, beliefs we took
Mhm.
situations to mean about us, and how then, even though we're adults, we still react as that 5, 6, 7-year-old child with the same wounds, the same worries, the same concerns. And I definitely think those come out much more if you're too overwhelmed, too tired.
Yeah.
When we take care of ourselves, and we spend some time remembering what our purpose is, remembering where we want to go, then we can move forward so much more confidently. And the invisible committee just becomes background noise. We don't have to listen to it anymore. It doesn't matter. We can go forward with that vision clearly before us.
Have you found something that works for you to do that?
I have to keep coming back to it because I think with any good practice, it only works as well as we do it regularly.
Fair.
Having a regular evening gratitude practice where I'm grateful for things and I
Mm.
kinda have a wind down in the day, and then in the morning, just as powerful and probably even more powerful, is spending some time breathing and thinking about what it is that I'm moving towards, what my big goals are, how I wanna impact the world, and when I have that clearly in mind first thing in the morning, and then I wrap it with gratitude in the evening, my days go much better. I tend to get off track. Things don't bother me as much, fluster me as
Mhm.
much. I'm able to get forward in my day with a lot more things than I do if I don't do that.
3 words popped up in my head while I was listening to you. I've heard those things and I've done those things, but I'm not consistent. I'm gonna pick one, I'm gonna practice because I've done them all, but I've never done them all consistently. There might be something about the consistency of it. And this is where the 3 words come in, Heather: ritual, routine, and habit. What's the difference?
I don't know, maybe ritual is tied to something that you do with it. You tell me.
I don't know either, but I was listening to you and I'm thinking, okay, so I could ask the next question and I could use the word, okay, so you've made this habit of doing something in the evening and doing something in the morning and it compounds. Then I was thinking, wait, it's a routine like brushing your teeth or eating breakfast. You're just providing yourself the fuel to be as optimized as possible. And then I went, wait, in reality, those are rituals that are also part of our soul and nurturing our soul. So I was like, I better just ask you, what do you think?
I like your answer way better than mine.
So if I were to ask you, what do you call that? Would you call it one of those words or something different?
I think innately I would probably call it a routine, but I do like you pairing it as a ritual in that I do feel when we take care and we nurture ourselves, there's power, there's a spirituality to taking care of ourselves.
That phrase, "cobbler's kids have no shoes," is very true for our own selves, and it applies here, so I like the term ritual from that perspective. It's almost like there's 3 ways. Do I show up in structure? That would be a routine. Do I show up in action? That would be a habit. Do I show up in pause or perception? That would be a ritual. All 3 words could work depending on who you are. Just pick one and don't get hung up on the others. What do you think?
I think that sounds great. Any way it gets done. I think maybe it starts as a routine. Maybe that's the most basic level and then moves from there.
All right, Heather. I'm thinking about goals, right? I know you have some big goals and you're working on some big things. And I want to know what you think of is a good goal.
The older I get and the more I'm in my business, the more I think about a good goal is something that outlasts me, something that's bigger than myself. Personally, with raising and training dogs, I think about the impact that every single one of those dogs can have in a home. A good goal for me is to place the most healthy, the most outgoing puppies in the world. I think there's a lot of good breeders out there, so I don't feel like I can say that mine are the most, but as much as they possibly can be.
Mm.
That goal really drives me. I started breeding for the results I saw with my kids, emotional benefits I saw with my kids, my foster children, and my natural children. When I think about them and look at how I can replicate the impact pets have had in their lives with hundreds of other homes, then I'm very driven and I'm very focused on making sure that I'm up on the latest nutrition, the latest socialization, the latest practices with matching families and educating families so that I can hit that goal. I think the biggest goals that any of us can look at in our business are the ones that live beyond us and impact lots of other people.
Feeling stuck? Like, what got you here won't get you there. The pressure to grow is on, yet the path isn't clear yet. You don't have to walk that path alone. This is the Bold Business Podcast. Like and subscribe wherever you listen. Your host, Jess Dewell, is the strategic partner you've been looking for, asking the questions that truly matter. It's time to break the inertia and get the perspective you need to make your next move.
You're listening to the Bold Business Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Dewell. Today I'm speaking with Heather Gibson, the founder and CEO of Big Hearted Breeders. Have you ever thought about, is somebody going to carry on what this good goal that you've created at Big Heart Breeders down the road? Or is it going to, you're just going to work until you're done and then there'll be another company that will be able to fill the space?
I don't know how my exact breeding company will live on. We've kind of chatted about
Yeah.
off camera that I run a breeding training business and I
Mhm.
try and instill that into other breeders because I don't think I own that space alone. And the more people that own it, the more impact we have. My daughter has talked about breeding down the road. She's kind of my animal
Mhm.
within the family. I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to put that on her. She definitely needs to have her own dreams and her own
Mhm.
goals. So we'll see where it goes.
How cool to have just put the invitation out there with your training community, with the education, with people who are doing this to be part of your good goal. Come join me in my good goal. I think that there is power in that of the impact that it brings. Let me tell you, wow is all I have to say. Not many people think like that. And it allows for new ideas to come. It allows for everybody to be lifted up. It allows for evolution as much as disruption, right? Disruption happens and it's usually oh, we have to jump in here. Whereas when I look at it from an evolution perspective, sure, there's disruption. The way we do things is going to change when websites came on or when we started to get cell phones that had screens, right? And where we're at right now with agents that help us be more creative right here from where we're sitting. I'm super excited to see how all of this goes. Unless you're a technology company, it really doesn't change the function or the mission of a business. It helps that business's mission and vision get more real and more impact.
All the changes with AI, I know there's a lot of fear for some people around it, but I think we have to embrace the hope that's in it too. The fact that it helps us meet our vision faster, that we have new tools to create copy, even some of the training stuff it does. And of course, you have to verify what you're reading there and be careful with sourcing, but it does open up the world to a business owner in a way that we previously have had to pay thousands of dollars for consultants to come in and do some of these things that AI now does for us for $30 a month.
It's amazing and I love it. The accessibility of it is great. The fact that you still need systems, you still need a vision, you still need some initiatives, a place that you're going, maybe a year out, maybe 5 years out. In your case, the good goal that outlasts us too. It makes me think too, I'm going to switch the subject just a little and I'm going to be thinking about the rigidity. You had insinuated earlier a lot of people with a lot of opinions about the work that I do.
True.
Just putting that back on the table, I have no doubt you've felt locked into a box. How did you build the knowledge and the skill that you need to do the education, to do the work, to do the breeding, and to do the matching with everybody and still have that instinct piece of business to go, okay, this is where the business is. This is how we make a difference. This is where we get to keep growing.
How do you keep the good parts of what's good in your industry, and how do you get rid of the parts that no longer really serve? There's that story about the person that cut both sides off the ham before they cooked. They're like, "Well, you have to cut both sides off." They're like, "Why?" Like, "'Cause mom always did. Grandma always did." When they went back to grandma, everyone thought it was because it made the ham taste better, but it was really 'cause that's what she did to make it fit in the pan. And yeah, so sometimes we have these ideas in our business, in our industry that no longer serve. I think the first thing you need to do is be really open to education. I love to learn and I love to listen to different views, ones that don't, maybe normally fit with what I'm thinking. I still love to listen and consider, be open to those new ideas. And so if you're open to learning and you're looking at lots of different things and you have experts in place that really do know the industry. So in my industry, for example, if I completely disregarded everything vets said, I would be in a bad place because vets are very important. They have a skill set that we need, making sure that we're doing health testing according to the latest science that the veterinarians are kind of help guiding us on and getting their opinion with different things that we need to have covered that are not in my realm of expertise or knowledge are important. But then maybe breaking the mold in certain areas. Like I mentioned, that we don't call a lot of breeders get a lot of slack, a lot of pushback if they say that they make money, if they call it a business. Any of these kind of interesting idea sets, I think, are outdated and probably never were implemented for the right reasons. If you're not taking care of your customers in any business, then your business is going to fail, whether it's working with puppies, kittens, cars, it doesn't matter. You have to show up and serve people, answering calls, emails in the right way. If you disregard the business side of breeding, you're really putting yourself in a spot where you're not going to be able to do as well as you could for the animals you're serving. And the same goes for not making money. I was meeting with my accountant like yesterday, and I think I paid 50,000 so far this year to vets. And a lot of that has been health testing. We do extensive health testing on all of our parents. If I didn't make money, I couldn't do it and I wouldn't be servicing the animals in my program, the people that come to me to buy. I'd be too overextended, too worn out. I think as you pull apart the molds and you look at it, you have to come in from a curious angle instead of being rigid about what's been done. Curious, why do people say that? Is that actually true? Where did that come from? And I think for breeders, part of the reason why we feel like we shouldn't make money or breeders say that they shouldn't make money is there's a lot of shame put on us by the rescue world, by other breeders, by not making any money for what we're doing, by working for free or at a loss. We're giving a reason why it's okay to breed when we don't need to. There are families out there that absolutely need what we're doing. When we pretend like what we do isn't of value, that we shouldn't get paid for it, we diminish ourselves and all the impact we could have.
How long did it take you to say that?
I think this is the first time I've said it ever.
Well, I'm glad you did. The reason I was asking because you're saying it naturally, you're saying it with confidence, and I'm listening. Look, this is the synthesis of all of the conversation, all of the education, all of the hard facts of here's what it takes to run a business. Here's what this business cost is in the breeding industry that I'm working with. And here's how I feel about it. Here's what I sense about it. Here's what seems to be changing. I'm so glad to have this community because they're seeing things that change too. And that is business instinct right there. You just named it. That was the awesome. And say it like that every time.
I will work on that.
It was really good, Heather. It's interesting that there's this concept of status and prestige and tradition from the show side and from the artist side. This we're not supposed to make any money. That's really flawed. And that's fiction on both sides because they're all in the same space. Did you always know that there were flaws in the system? And when did you decide you wanted to see those change?
I've been breeding for about 12 years. And when I got started, you don't know what you don't know. And I was just having a good time. I started out in the purebred world. I did immediately see some pushback among purebred breeders, but a feeling of, you haven't put in enough time. You can't come into this. You're not qualified enough for this yet. A lot of times they call purebred breeding preservation breeding. I actually worked in the preservation breed longer than I've now in the mixed breed. So I've been in both sides, and traditionally they don't get along. It's a dynamic there, which comes to flawed beliefs in the system. As I walked through that, as I saw some of the things that I didn't agree with in the preservation breeding, and some things I don't agree with in the mixed breeding, and some things I don't agree with in the rescue world. There's flaws in all of it, but there's so much power and connection, and we have so much more in common than people talk about, that it was that journey of me seeing everybody pointing out what was wrong with each group and pointing out the flaws instead of celebrating how closely we actually are in doing the same work together. I think in any business that can be the case. We get so caught up in this coworker or this part of our leadership team. And when we can stop and find our commonality together and move forward in that, that's where we have real power and that's where we can create real change. I want to be a bridge builder between these different communities that maybe don't see yet how we are very alike and we could do so much good together.
Am I right that you host an event in person in
Yes.
Utah? Is that for everybody? Is that for every kind of breeder there is?
Yeah, so we cats and dog breeders are mainly who come. We wouldn't turn down some of the other breeders out there, but we bring in experts that cater specifically towards cats and dog
Okay.
breeders.
If your week feels like you're being pulled from one demand to the next, this is for you. The daily grind is the #1 killer of business instinct, pulling you and your team away from your vision. Reclaim your strategic edge with the Present Retreat. This free guide from Red Direction is a simple, powerful framework to carve out the space you need, to filter out the noise, make the right decisions, and lead with clarity. Visit presentretreat.com.
Our guest today is Heather Gibson, the CEO and founder of Big Hearted Breeders. I know you also do online summits, right? You need to go check out Big Hearted Breeders community because I got to visit one of their summits as a speaker and it was amazing. Heather and her team did an awesome job. The community is fantastic. So definitely go take a look, take a listen, and see what they're all about. Is there something different like the online ones for education all the time and actually getting out of the day to day and coming together in person for you?
It is night and day difference. I think anybody in their job is running 100 miles an hour. We don't do enough self-care. Pulling yourself out of the environment you're in, putting yourself in a completely different environment to then be educated and connect with other people is so powerful. It's so funny because I bring in top speakers. I flew in someone from Australia last year. We have two well-known speakers coming in this year, but every time what I hear back from the people that come is it's the connections, it's the conversations at lunch and at dinner. And we do a very immersive retreat in that it's all in the same place. We stay in the same place. We have the training in the same place. Everybody gets to hang out with everybody the whole time if they come live. And the power of connecting with other like minded people, the power of getting away and just stepping back and looking at your business or your life from a different perspective outside of what you normally do is so powerful and something I think everyone should do at least once a year.
What's the biggest takeaway you've had in your own leadership from events like this?
I invest heavily in having my own coaches and attending retreats, business minded retreats, business masterminds with other women or business leaders. And I feel like it shortens the time that we get to where we're trying to go. When you go spend time with people that are doing the same things you are or thinking the same ways you are, something magical happens. It's like we're dealing with a combination lock and we're trying to get 3 or 4 pieces in place, and we might have one digit that we've been struggling with for years. All of a sudden, we're in an environment like that, and it just falls into place because we're in the right environment around the right people, and it just naturally happens. It's powerful to shorten the time it takes to get where you want to go.
How does it help you in the day to day or the week to week or the year to have these. I'm thinking there's that strategic protected time where you're looking forward to making sure your goal is still good. You're still looking to make sure you've got the initiatives on place and they're moving forward. I want to know a little bit about how you work that into the always changing, never stopping work.
As far as making the time, it's a priority. And it's not even the time, it's sometimes finding the money. I'm in a mastermind this year. I paid 35,000 for the year. And I don't say that lightly. That was and is a significant investment. Sometimes the biggest investments we make end up changing us the most because there's kind of this energy exchange when we say, yes, we're all in. I'm showing up to this. You show up differently. So there's definitely making it a priority and being there and doing what we said we would do.
Do you have time you prioritize on a schedule, routine, or rhythm?
Sunday nights is my time where I look at the week and figure out what I've got going on, make sure that I didn't double book myself anywhere. I have a staff that helps me. So sometimes there are some double bookings. So taking that beginning of the week look at everything and getting a good idea of what I have coming up. And
Okay.
then on a nightly basis, doing kind of a nightly review. That really helps me from a strategic standpoint, but going to events like this, you recalibrate a little bit. You sometimes, or you have new ideas of where you want to go. They talk all the time about a plane is off course most of the time. And it's just those little micro adjustments that they need to make to get where they're going to go. And I think any business is like that. Is we set aside time to check in with ourselves, to look at what our goals really are. That's how we get where we really want to go. And we don't get somewhere and then realize, "Oh, I actually never wanted to be here," or made that goal 5 years ago, and this is actually not where I wanna be now. So, it's important to take the time and make sure that you're refocusing and recommitting.
For the big events and then even bringing that into the week to week, I appreciate hearing how you're opened up, learned something new, reminded, and then based off of what the right next step is for you, you're bringing that into your Sunday nights and then your daily reviews. Once a week, I look 10 days out, and mine's Mondays. I look 10 days out and I make sure that I have a certain percentage of my calendar empty outside of deep work time, meetings, podcast recordings, because things will come up.
Yeah.
Clients will need things. There will be an opportunity that really is the right thing right now. And instead of having to rearrange everything, there's just space to put it there. And that little bit of space, that one action, I'm not good at it. Okay. I hate taking things off my calendar and I hate saying my calendar is full and I hate saying not right now. Even when I have an option or something else I could give as a soft no, it's still a no. And so I'm not very good at it. I am committed to it. I think it's meaning I'm clunky. That's where my heart and my soul really come out. It changed my business. It changed my ability to say yes. And it changed the amount of impact I can have because of that one small thing. So I'm listening to, and I was reminded of that myself. Everybody's going to have something. Where are you learning? What are you putting into practice? And then from that, what is the change that you see happening from putting it into practice? Even just one thing.
Just clearing off some space to have time to yourself. I had a coach that challenged me to do that, and I've been living that the last 4 months. It drastically changed my life. It gave me more breathing room. It gave me time to get done projects that I needed to get done, but didn't have space for because something else had come up. It gave me more chance to rest and be with myself too, which is something I think a lot of the culture around CEOs and business and success, there's certain groups of people that are like, work harder, go faster, don't stop, sweat until you die, run, run, run.
Yes.
And the truth
Yeah.
is that I'm not a man, so maybe men can do it better than I can, but I can say with me and how I am, that just drains me. And then I don't show up in my full ability and capacity to serve others and to do what I really am called and that I'm really good at.
Mhm.
So taking
You
that space to rest and catch up is I just have to second that. It's phenomenal.
I'm curious if you would say this about yourself. You are a powerhouse when it comes to pet wellness and nutrition. I was doing some research and it seems like you are the top person. Am I correct in that?
I have a coach that tells me I am. I'm trying to step into the belief of that a little
Okay.
bit more.
Okay.
I do have a lot of education and certifications in that area, yes.
Way to claim it. Sometimes other people need to tell it to us a lot, don't they? How about being a CEO? Was it similar for you? Oh my gosh, I'm the CEO of this. Was it ever like that for you?
Oh, yeah, it's all kind of a learning experience
Yeah.
of taking on the and I wouldn't even say power. Power sometimes has a dirty connotation, but as far as taking on the responsibility, stepping into the ability to serve others in your fullest capacity is something that unless you take ownership of it, unless you claim it, it's really hard to do.
Being in the space that you're in with the credentials that you have and the work that you're doing, opportunity with the massive corporations that surround these topics when it comes to cats and dogs.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of interesting dynamics in the
Okay.
pet wellness space. Fortunately, like anything, I think there's a lot of misinformation. And so
Mm.
I think our role as business owners is to know how to educate and help people understand and break down some of these bigger complex things, helping people see the benefits and the drawbacks to different things and doing that education to the point where you can actually get through to the consumer is
Mhm.
part of our job, and it's definitely one of the trickier parts.
I'm coming all the way back down, right? We've talked about the way things have always been done and how do you shed that. But what we really haven't touched on that I'm curious about is when we do our own business evaluations and you in the breeding industry, for all of the people that are CEOs and business owners in your communities, how do they do in general, and you included in this, at seeing when their values differ from the actions they're taking and getting back to the alignment of them? Or does it take outside eyes? Does it happen often?
I can't really speak to everybody else's organizations. I think what we do to stay true to our values, when I place puppies, I think about the impact every puppy we've had in our family has had with my kids. And I want to share that same impact with other families. And so we have certain SOPs, standard operating procedures with health testing, with socialization care, with veterinary care. And we wrote those in mind as we were thinking about our greatest goal. So you have to take your greatest goal, reverse engineer it into standard operating procedures, and then make sure you're following it. I have a couple people that are gatekeepers inside my organization to make sure that we always follow the standard operating procedures that we've set. And they do evolve, meaning that if we realize that there's something that we could do better that's been released in the science world, or we have an expert coming out and saying, hey, this is the new way to handle things, then we're always looking at it and up leveling our standard operating procedures to match. And I think that's where it gets really powerful is if you have the standard operating procedures to back it up, and then you have more than one person looking at it and making sure it's being followed inside your organization.
What's the thing you had to do to claim role as CEO, torchbearer for your organization? Maybe even one step further for your community.
The hardest thing I've done, and I'm still working on it in the last year, is stepping into that role and showing up on social media more that way. So I'm starting to do more videos where I talk about how nutrition impacts pets. Whereas before I hid behind cute videos of puppies. And that has taken courage. Like we talked about, the invisible committee can be loud for a people pleaser. Even when I do my routines and I'm trying to stay in my core values. And so it does take courage and grit to show up in a new way. That's what I've been doing to claim who I am, making sure that I stay in alignment with those goals by reviewing them and making sure that on that weekly basis, part of that review is okay, this is what I said I was going to do this week because of this goal. How did I do with it? And if I didn't do it, not berating myself, but being a little curious. Oh, what do you think held you back from that? Why didn't you go and film that? You had the time. Let's be honest. You had the time to do that thing, but for whatever reason, you didn't show up for yourself with that. Why? When we get curious and take away the emotion, the blame, the shame, that's when we can really change some of the behaviors that we have.
Now I'm thinking about your community. You were talking about the perception and the acceptance of not being profitable, of not being elite as a breeder. So I want to know what makes it bold for your community to be scaling these demands and start asking the people in the community to do the work to see themselves as those elite, profitable CEOs.
So the bold is just showing up myself and being the leader in showing the way, in being what I'm telling people to be. If I can't show up and do it myself, it's very difficult to ask anybody else to do it. So I would be the bold. I'm not the only one. We have some other amazing blazers out there that are showing up in amazing ways to say, hey, some of these beliefs about breeders are broken. Some of these beliefs about how much work we put in and how much time and effort and passion we put into what we do is not being seen. I think it's linking arms with other people that are being bold, and it makes you more bold, right? Because you're like, okay, let's go. We're going to be bold together. And then you can go out and feel more confident and stand a little bit taller. And sometimes you have to do it on your own, unfortunately. But when you can, linking arms with other people doing the same thing is really powerful.
And that brings us to the close of another powerful and fresh perspective on the Bold Business Podcast. In today's volatile landscape, growth is a double-edged sword. To truly thrive, you must engage with your strategy, not just react to the day-to-day. Without absolute alignment, your company faces a stark choice: outmaneuver or be outmaneuvered, grow or get left behind. Thank you for listening, and a special thanks to the Scott Treatment for technical production.